I'm glad at least on this show we were willing to ask the question about like what might this offense look like without Ben Johnson and like what if it falls apart without Ben Johnson? What if it falls apart because of the offensive line? Still, even if you were willing to ask the question, I don't think many people expected it was going to look that bad in week 1.
Yeah, that's the curiosity with all this. So just for frame of reference, I'll use this. I was a little hesitant on John Morton as offensive coordinator. I was just, it's very curious to me when a guy is a long time assistant and only has one play calling opportunity, and it was for a very bad team, and then just never gets a chance again, even though he's worked in some good offenses with some good offensive staffs. Just one of those things where I'm like, just keep my eye on this. Just keeping an eye on this. And when I watched it, it just didn't. Again, this is 1 week, and I know they're turning over the offensive line, the interior trio, and they went against a Packers defense that was a buzzsaw with Micah Parsons, and they were all geeked up. But when the Lions have their lowest explosive play rate since 2021. According to Keegan Abdu, only 4 explosive plays, and this whole offense was one of the most explosive play heavy offenses. That was the whole gist of this offense. And on top of it, they also had their second worst run game in terms of success rate in the Dan Campbell era, period. No other caveats or anything. The second worst run game. They had one of the worst run games in the NFL last week. And the Packers defense, I do think will be good. I will give that caveat, but not 22.7% success rate. Like, not like a bad day for the run game for the Lions. You can't see my air quotes. Now you can. Should be like mid 30%, low 30%. That is significant because the identity of this entire team, not just the offense, is running the freaking football. Like that is what they should be good at. And if you're taking away the fastball, if the 102 mile an hour fastball is now going 93, well, teams are going to just tee off on it. And that's what it looked like in week 1. And so it's just something I'm curious about. And also there's just some canary in the coal mine moments for me. And this, again, might be extrapolating 1 week game plan heavy week because, these teams got a lot of time to prep. But the first play of the game, very first play of the game, the play that these teams are so excited to get to, the opening scripts of the first game, they have Sam Laporta at the point of attack blocking Lucas Van Ness. So, love Sam Laporta as a receiver. He's one of the worst blocking tight ends in the league. He can be on the field because he's such a good receiver. Now, he has blocking the point of attack. That just showed like a lack of kind of thoughtfulness to your first play of the season. Okay, it's just one play. The reverse to Jameson Williams. It's called a little too tight to the end zone. That's why I didn't get so much space. That's why he only got 3 yards. Okay, there's other plays where they would have a negative play and they just immediately hand the ball off on duo, which is a play I like, but they would just do it. Okay, they're just doing it kind of like I just don't want to call anything too drastic here. So here's duo. It just, that kind of imaginative thought just didn't feel like it was there. There's just some sloppiness and edginess to this offense I haven't seen in recent years. It might get better as the season goes along. I get that. But I was concerned a little bit about this offense, and now it's more of a lot of it because there was a lack of thoughtfulness in this offense, and especially the first game that should be very game plan heavy. So yeah, I'm a little I'm a little pessimistic right now if you can't tell about what the offense, and that's not even the defense too was sloppy and everything. Yeah. But it's a fantasy show, so we're just talking the offense right now.
It's always super difficult in week one to separate bad unit versus like, was this just unit better than we expected? And I think that's really difficult with the Lions offense and the Packers defense, because you were really optimistic about this Packers defense in the summer when we did our top 10 defenses show, and then they went and traded for Micah Parsons. Like, you were already saying,
totally knew that.
Yeah, nailed it, buddy. You were already saying this could be a top 10. You said that this could be a top 10 defense in the NFL, and then they go and add one of the best players in the league. So that's they could just be like that unit this year that makes that massive leap on defense, right? And that could be what all of this week one, like the results are. But I think you pointing out some of the process issues with the first time play caller in Detroit. Obviously, Morton has called plays previously. It's been a long time, man. 2017, the game has changed since 2017 by quite a bit. So I think there are also just like there are issues too where like Sam Laporta was really involved in this offense. And like we said, Sam Laporta is a good player, but it felt like he was like the first read kind of options on a lot of plays. And to me, if like I'm a new coordinator, I'm making sure like Amon-Ra St. Brown gets 30% of the targets like off the bus. You know what I'm saying? Like this is my steady tempo player in the offense.
Yep.
He's been our engine in the passing game for a while. Jared Goff loves him. He's a perfect Jared Goff type of wide receiver. But it did feel very much like my concern with Morton, like in theory, because he's such a known like downfield shot offensive coordinator, right? Like if you go back to that Jets offense in 2017, they were pushing the ball down the field. Even as like a pass game coordinator, it's been kind of discussed that he's a vertical based guy. I don't want him to get turned this into like a true drop back, like push the ball vertically to Jamison Williams and like Sam Laporta up the seams and stuff, because that's not what Jared Goff is. So I'm definitely like that part of it's on my radar too, that it kind of felt that way in week 1. So that can just be confirming priors, but it felt a little bit like that to me.
Yeah. I was kind of the whole time waiting. I was like, hey, you're down on this offense, so just keep an eye. Like you're just like, I was trying to, like you say, like my priors, I was trying to kind of hedge against them. Like, hey, just be fair, give it time, watch it. When I was watching it live, I was like, it just didn't feel like it had teeth. And it was like, even Goff under pressure is always going to kind of like drop off as far as production, but when he's rolling, that dude can rip throws as well as anybody. He can sit in the pocket and rip dig route after dig route and over route after over route and bender after bender. And it just felt like, where are all those? It was all check downs and other stuff to the outside. So there was just this lack of it. And of course it showed up with the explosive play stat, but it was like the two things they should be good at were the explosive plays off play action and the run game. And there was probably the two worst elements of this offense. So that's why I'm scared, because it's going from, I always say the crap to not crap. Well, what if you go from amazing to not crap or just okay? Like that's a significant drop, even, or just above average, so that's where it's just, there was so much of this flow. It just even felt like the backs didn't get into their flow like they usually do, Gibbs and Montgomery. And even Amon-Ra St. Brown, you've already mentioned him, felt like I think his first catch was when he was lined up as the X and kind of slant. I don't know. I want my Amon-Ra St. Brown catching receiver screens and crossers and digs and stuff that uses this kind of like stuff where he can catch and go. And so, I don't know. There's just, again, I might be just making a mountain of a molehill, but it's just when I watch it, it just didn't, especially back on film. Yeah, it just didn't have that. I mean, Penei Sewell's losing, which is like, should be the strength of your team. So strength of your offensive line. Okay, that's curious. Tate Ratledge, the rookie, is going to have sloppy moments because you're a rookie. Graham Glasgow is going to get beat. He's a fine starter, but he's going to get beat. Chris Mahogany got beat a couple times too. Yeah, it was just there's a lot more questions, a lot more how is this going to work than maybe I thought, where it's just like, just keep the good times going.
And this week 2 spot, it's back home, and I think that's obviously something that could be huge, right? Could be really worth a lot, because this team has just been unbelievable in their own track in the dome. So that could fix a lot of problems, and it just, again, it could be a week 1 blip outside, against what might end up being one of the 2 or 3 best defense in the NFL. Like that's very possible. We look back in week 1, like, oh yeah, the Lions were fine. They just played a great Packers defense. They will obviously have to play them at least one more time, and they hope maybe, another time in the playoffs, but it's definitely is. It's not the softest landing spot in week 2 though, because they get this Bears defense that, in my opinion, played really well on Monday night, and it's still like Dennis Allen knows what buttons to push. He also knows all these guys, right? Like this is all. There's a lot of former Saints-ism in this Lions offense. Is. Dennis Allen, like really obviously spent a lot of time in New Orleans, defensive coordinator, head coach, so that's part of it too. And there were just times where on Monday night, and it's very different because, J.J. McCarthy is obviously a quarterback making his first start in the NFL, but I said this to you on 301 that there were times where I felt like that defense really smelled blood in the water and like they were getting after it. And I just wonder if there's going to be moments like that with this Lions team in week 2. But I guess if you had to decide, like, which unit are you more confident in getting right or getting maybe closer back to previous expectations, the Lions passing game or the Lions running game?
Lions running game, because just the same offensive line coach, Hank Fraley, most of the same personnel. Like truly, I know there's 3 new starters starters in new spots. Like Glasgow started for this offensive line at different spots, and so is Christian Mahogany. But it's just that I think it's just the identity of the team and what makes the engine go. So I think that's why they want to make that work and fix that off. it just Goff didn't look like he had the aggressiveness to rip off how he was been playing the last couple of years, where he was just really confident with some of the throws. I think it's going to be fine. I don't think the bottom's totally falling out. It was just, it was very curious. It was very, like, again, I was pessimistic, but I was like, oh my God, like, come on, guys. Like, this is not, I wasn't expecting this. So again, I think it's somewhere in the middle, where I think it's more, the passing game becomes a little less explosive, and just more just efficient and fine, which I think is fine for Goff. But I think the run game that gets more right and more what we expect, even with the changes on the interior, just because I just think that's just the identity of this team.
Yeah, it's not like fire sale time for these guys from like a fantasy standpoint, right? It's just, if you're shaving stuff off the top, right? Like, this isn't going to be the best offense in the league. There's going to be some losers here. I still think like Gibbs can, we saw it last week. He can scam his way with like the worst receptions you've ever seen to like
the Kamara Derek Carr combo. Yeah, the
Wan'Dale Robinson. I think Field Yates even tweeted that was the fewest amount of yards for somebody that had that many catches. Which I did reply to, like, made a Wan'Dale Robinson joke because I can't help myself in the replies there. But like, I think he's probably too good to fail. I think St. Brown is probably too big to fail. But that will be part of my, like, what's on my radar in week 2 is watching, as you pointed out, like the scripted plays again, because it was on our radar, Nate, when Jameson Williams said in the offseason, well, see, we have a lot more like freedom now. We got a lot more freedom. We always find a way to bring this up. We have a lot more freedom now. And I think it actually juxtaposes really well with some of the people's reaction to the Bears offense on Monday night. It's like, where's all those, like, why doesn't this feel like as easy and all that? It's like, well, this offense isn't some like Mickey Mouse heavy little, it's not that. It's like a real deal hard NFL offense, and you gotta master the details and like earn the right to make those plays easy. And I just wonder if this offense isn't as detailed now without the guy who was there hammering details every single day.
Mm-hmm. Did you see the interview between Amon-Ra St. Brown and Roman Dunze?
Yes, I was just talking about that with somebody today.
But remember, he was like, "Oh, is he still a stickler for splits?" And it was like, "Oh my God," he yelled at me about that's honestly, that's how Sean Payton always was. There's infamous stories, and it's funny because my offensive system that I kind of grew up in, or Wisconsin, like Paul Chris and Sean Payton have a lot of overlap and some of their offensive structure stuff. So the famous story is that like Sean Payton would throw his hat down to teach yardages, like not throw it in anger, but go like, I'm going to use my hat and you have to get to 14 yards. Yeah. Yep. And it was always the details. And then Paul Chris always do that too. So when I heard the stories about Sean Payton, I was like, see where he gets it from. but it's just that's why I'm still optimistic about Ben Johnson in that offense, because I just think that he's such a stickler for the rules. But like you said, that's why that Jameson Williams interview, I was like, that's not what I want to hear. I want to hear, oh my God, he's honest about every little detail and every little inch. But again, we talked about this too in the offseason, was, Ben Johnson's background is tight ends and amongst other things, but then Morton's background is receivers. So he's going to focus like getting the receivers right. So I don't know. Not my preferred way, but we'll see again how it unfolds. You still got Dan Campbell there. You still got Hank Fraley there. So, but I that's why I'm like not selling everything, but my concern level has risen